It's time to turn down the noise and tune in to News You Can Use, the show that gives you a quick insight into the latest twists and turns in healthcare news, where every diagnosis comes with an order of side-splitting humor. Your hosts are Dr. Nick, a longtime host, innovator, and healthcare wizard who can prescribe a digital dose of innovation to cure even the most ailing operational inefficiencies. And Dr. Craig Joseph, the healthcare guru who can diagnose both patient and software glitches with equal precision, making sure hospitals run smoother than a well-oiled robot doc. So buckle up, because we're diving into the ER of excitement, the ICU of irrationality, and the waiting room of wacky wisdom. Now here's Dr. Nick and Dr. Craig.
Welcome to the month of April. I'm Dr. Nick.
And I'm Dr. Craig.
This week, we'll be dissecting the latest healthcare news, unraveling twists and turns, and trying to make some sense of the latest debacles.
Just remember, life's a lot like a breaking news story. Unpredictable, often absurd, and occasionally leaves you wondering if it's all just a big cosmic prank.
Which it may be, let's be clear. This week, we take a look at the scheming of the Medicare Advantage medical loss ratio, alternative treatments in medicine.
And we dive into the Pitt, what's left inside after surgery. That'll be a fun one. And 5 things you should clean right now.
But first off, let's talk about how hallucinations are on the rise. You getting more hallucinations, Craig?
I am. In fact, you're floating in front of me right now.
But
no, that's the computer. It's normal.
The virtual background right there for you. Yeah.
Sorry about that. No, these are not the kind of hallucinations I get. I think these are hallucinations that artificial intelligences get.
So this isn't drug induced, although maybe it is. I don't know.
No, it's not.
No, it's so there is actually an increase based on the latest models. And to be clear, I'm just going to declare my antithesis to hallucinations. This is the anthropomorphizing of artificial intelligence, which, it's not human, it's not a human activity, but we've given it this sort of human behavior to sort of give you a shortcut to the fact that these models, when they respond, will actually make up things, references. I mean, we've seen a number of, pretty funny cases in law courts where, they've made up cases that, for submitting cases and so forth. And with the new OpenAI models, which I think you're the rich guy, you pay money for these things, so you can maybe speak to this, but I believe 03 and 04 mini, I think, is the one. A staggering, I'm just going to call this staggeringly high rates at about 1/3, and in the mini, up to 50%. So half the time you're going to get stuff that's made. I can go to my 3-year-olds and ask them questions. I could get probably better results than that. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's about the same.
Yeah. Well, as you said, I am wealthy and pay the $20 a month to get the.
Yeah, it's from all the money that I pay you for doing these things.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get a raise soon. It's you're absolutely right. There's no hallucination, and you're also absolutely right. We anthropomorphize lots of things so that we can understand them. Right, so that we.
You think that's the excuse? Okay, I'll go with it for now. But,
I do. I think we want to know how things work in the world, even though most of us have very little idea, like how electricity gets into my house. I really don't know.
Speak for yourself.
There's a wire. I
am reading all about the Big Bang Theory, so I think I'm way ahead of the game here.
That's fair. That's fair.
Enjoying it. I'm just going to say.
So yeah, we all a large language model works by predicting the next word. Or the next part of the word, or the next pixel if it's drawing if it's making some sort of artwork for you, and so it's all just math, and there's really no thinking or understanding there. So saying it hallucinates or is also kind of saying that it's lying, but it's not really lying because it's again just predicting the next word.
Pick another word that anthropomorphizes. Yes, that will just trigger me.
It's once again, I feel like
the AI is lying.
Most of today, AI is not where I'm going to go to get facts. And
Okay, so you're that one guy.
I just don't.
Because everybody I see, that's the first thing that, whoa, let's ask ChatGPT.
I mean, I like to ask. So like
Or
I like
DeepSeek,
to
'cause
do
he's
that.
free.
But it's you get what you get, and sometimes it's very I tell you, the worst AI that I've seen is on my very expensive iPhone. Apple Intelligence, that's the AI for Apple Intelligence. And yeah, by their own admission, it's really, really bad. But yesterday I was getting an Uber, and I got a little pop-up summary that my Uber driver was about to arrive. And then it closed, and then the onboard AI summarizes that message for me, even though it was pretty short message. And it said it said your German driver is about to arrive. And I was like, this is awesome.
Oh my God!
I can't
you
wait.
pulled out Google Translate, or did I?
I
Is there something I
can't
don't know
wait
about you?
for my German driver in Boston to arrive. And then I clicked on it to actually look at what the message said, and it said your driver, whose first name happened to be the word German. It's an unusual first name, I get
It
it,
is, yeah, that's true.
but yeah, so he was not German.
Honest
That was
mistake.
just his name. Okay, there you go. I don't know if that's called a hallucination or just bad AI, but either way, it's the same thing. It's giving me information that's partially true. It was
Right.
partially true. It wasn't fully off, but
Yeah,
it
well,
implied that this gentleman was from the country of Germany. He was not.
Guten Morgen, Guten Tag. Yeah, but you were
Yeah,
all ready for it, weren't you?
I was. I no.
Can
I.
I just have to ask one question, because you did cite Apple Intelligence. Is that an oxymoron, or is that
It is now.
my
Right now, it is.
it really is.
It's really, really bad. So I'm hoping that they're gonna. I know they've made a bunch of
Well, so
changes.
good news, it's getting worse. So we can have even more fun next month.
Yeah, but anyway, getting back to if you use a tool improperly, then is it the tool's fault? And if you're asking, to me, if you're asking like
Ooh.
fact-based questions
Mm.
of an AI right now, I'm not saying ever. It's and then taking it as, I guess that's the next step, and then taking it as gospel.
I'm not so sure I agree with you, because I found a lot of the, because what seems to happen, I'm assuming that I'm getting this because I'll use Google sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think I get an AI response to some of the questions I ask.
Yes. Yes.
And I think some of those are pretty good. I mean, I got a
They are.
surprising one.
They are.
So I'm going to ask you, if I was to say to you rabies vaccines and where were they typically administered, what would you say?
In what country or in what part of the body?
Well, but historically, when we used to give rabies vaccines,
I
where
mean, again, in what country, or how did we administer them on a human? I'm not
no,
understanding.
on a human. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, my
right, yes.
understanding, I've never done it, was around the bite.
Oh,
Is
interesting.
that's what I thought that one did.
So the prevailing
I've never done it though.
Well,
So
no, neither have I, but it was something that we all seem to know and learn. Maybe this was a cultural thing. They were administered into the abdomen, extraordinarily painful, and
oh,
it was 28-day course and whatever. And when I was searching for this, it was because it was featured in one of these historical dramas that I'm watching, 1920 something or the other. They were doing this, and I thought, "Oh, why is it that we do that?" And then when I looked it up, apparently that's a bunch of BS.
there's no reason.
Yeah, well, no, that we never did. There was a little bit of history when it first happened, but no, it was always administered.
Just somewhere.
Yeah. Anyway, well,
hey, there's I think what's becoming a popular AI chatbot for healthcare, which is openevidence.com. I don't think we've ever discussed
no,
that.
we haven't. We should put that on the list.
Openevidence.com. And it's right now, it's only available to physicians. You have to have a practitioner ID number to get a login. But it's trained, so we can just talk about it at a high level. It's trained only on journal articles and guidelines from mainstream,
Yeah.
American.
But that doesn't necessarily help. to be clear, because an awful
Oh,
lot
no,
of these
no, no, but
articles
it's
and
it's
whatever,
not
but yeah,
trained on the internet, and so at least
right.
the evidence that it's been trained on is accurate. Um, I, I think physicians are starting to use it. I know
Hmm.
I'm playing around with it. My point is this: uh, I can evaluate some of these claims to say like, oh, that makes sense. Yes, that's what I was thinking, or that seems like way out there. And one of the things that it does is it gives you it'll give you references to where it's getting some of its facts from. And
Oh,
so if for instance for your rabies vaccine, if it said, well, this is how it's best administered, it will give you a link to a theoretically authoritative article or reference that you can look up and make sure that that is exactly what it says. And so that's my point. That's at least how I today deal with an AI. If it's something important, which it often is not, but if it's something important, then I want to go and double check it.
hmm. All right. Well, so long topic. I was surprised. I don't think we were expecting that, but there you go. So the Pit, and we're not talking about just general pits. This is the TV series, The Pit, featuring Noah, who was in the original ER, which maybe inspired some people, didn't, whatever, but it was certainly one of the premier TV series, medical dramas that tried to make it more realistic. You've seen one episode. I've seen a few more than that. Just to be clear for anybody listening, we are not going to feature any spoilers. I'm going to try very hard. If I do, it's
Your fault.
accidental. Yes, of course it is. You always say that. So we
Yeah.
just
Well, I've only seen the first episode, so I can't.
right.
There's
So
no spoilers.
you're, but I think the interesting thing is I've heard a lot about it. I love it. I think it's as close to the reality of what goes on, both in a bad and in a good way, to sort of detail, with even I'm going to call the administrative side of things, the negativity and the oversight that comes into play, is featured in the way that it impacts. There's the medical details, extraordinarily accurate. I think, as usual with Hollywood, it's all on fast forward. So the idea that you would see the things that you do, absolutely. I mean, that was true with ER for 1 hour episode. We're all going,
Sure.
holy smokes, that would have been a busy and B bloody hell. What are your what do you think? I mean, I recommend it. I think everybody should see it because I think it's a good expose on, dear God, this is what's going on.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of emergency physicians say very positive things about it. Like it's incredibly accurate. I don't know. There were some aspects of it, at least the first episode, which is why I haven't gone on yet to see the second episode, that I thought were not like there was a lot of infighting and backstabbing
Hmm.
among especially the residents and medical students. And I have to say, like that was not my experience.
No, it
Um,
wasn't mine. That's true. Yep.
we were kind of all there were people I didn't like for sure, but we were kind of all thrown into this ugly
Mm,
mess of a training thing,
yep.
and
Yep.
mostly we tried to work together. And unless you were really pathologic, it was
I think
everyone
that's
tried
the
to help it.
Hollywood spin because that allows them to create drama where there
Yeah,
isn't.
and
And
I found that so. But I was kind of I have to say I was a little turned off by that.
mm,
However, absolutely, there are if people don't understand how our medical system, and I'm putting system in air quotes, um, works, then this will be an eye opener
mm.
of yeah, people who come to the emergency room because they don't have anywhere else to go, or they can't get into their primary care doctor, or they have social problems that are not cannot be addressed by healthcare. Yeah, it's good for that.
So I think it's two thumbs up from the docs, right? That at least certainly one thumbs up. Is it half a
Me-
thumb from you or what?
for
To watch it.
medically, it's two thumbs up.
Okay.
Clinically accurate.
Clinically accurate. I would say definite thumbs up for watching. Um, Moving on, I think this was a shocker for me. Latest news, or at least recent coverage, was I think it was in the San Francisco Times. I mean, it's not laughing because, I mean, this used to happen. We left stuff behind in patients. I mean, there's innumerable cases that, would always get featured, certainly potentially in M&M and, sometimes beyond that. And it's still going on at an incredible rate. I mean, I read this and I go, gosh, if I have serious medical procedure and I'm under anesthesia, the first thing I'm going to ask when I wake up, did you get everything out?
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know that it helps, but
lots of different things. I think most commonly it's sponges, which are just kind of almost like little rags that are used to kind of soak up.
also bacteria are absorbing pieces of bleh.
Yeah. Well, not good. I mean, you can even
No.
leave a scalpel inside someone, or
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
it's bad. And to your point, we've this is not new, and it's uncommon, but it still happens. And we've put in place all sorts of workflows to try to prevent it. And we've now started adding technology to try and prevent it. For instance, the sponge count is
Well, it's
something,
clearly not helping.
how many do we put in? How many do we see
Or at
out
least
on
I
the
don't think
floor?
it is. Because
Yeah.
please, somebody tell us that that's not true, and this is just a headline grabbing, eyeball grabbing headline rather.
Yeah, these are never events, which means they are never supposed to happen.
Right.
There's no reason for it. Yet they're still happening. And so will technology help or will technology hinder? Right? Sometimes we over-engineer a technological solution and expecting the computer or some sort of technology to take responsibility and do a much better job. Then we pay less attention. So
And hallucinate and say, yeah, no, that one was
no, we don't hallucinate, but we don't count the sponges as,
that didn't come out.
if you think you put 12 in, but you actually put 13 in, then
Yeah,
it's not
it's
so
on both
cool when
ends
you
of
have
that.
12
What's
out.
the
Yeah.
count? And I mean, it was a big deal then, and we tried really. I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell us why that's still occurring. Um, all right. So, related to this was a New York Times article that sort of talked about. I think it was titled "Bending the Rules." It was written by a physician, and it was really about alternative therapies and patients coming in. And let's pick one. I know I could get some hate mail. I certainly had a bunch of it during COVID over my sort of stand against ivermectin, which does not treat COVID-19. It had some positive notes in the laboratory, but never translated. Anyway, it would be like a patient coming with COVID-19, and asking, hey, I'd like you to give them ivermectin. And, especially if they're not doing well for a variety of reasons, whatever those might be, you might, as a physician, say, gosh, it's not going to do any harm, potentially. I don't think, there's not a lot of side effects risk with this particular one. Were with some of the others. And, I thought it was a very thoughtful piece that talked about this and how they they wanted to. I think in the end they did, but the question was, did that open the floodgates? And now you're saying yes to this. Where does it stop? I mean, I imagine you probably had. Although I will say, from my practice, which was a while ago, I don't remember any of this. I don't remember people going, but I lived in, this was the East End of London where, oh yeah, doc, what have you say, doc? Yeah, right on, doc. Well, I jump off this bridge. I'll do that right now. Yeah.
I didn't have those patients.
Oh yeah. No, it was all over. It was it was lovely. They were so nice. Sorry, go on.
Well, again, I'm a pediatrician. I think the biggest thing I had, and this was, as you mentioned, several decades ago, for both of us. But yeah, I certainly had some parents who didn't want, either didn't want any vaccines or didn't want vaccines on the schedule that we would recommend. And and this was actually brought up in that article in the New York Times about, well, what to do about that. And there's no really great answer. So you can either say, no, I'm not going to do that,
Hmm.
because that's not in my, I don't believe that's going to help. And certainly there are unintended consequences that we have. You get allergic reaction to a medicine that I didn't even want to prescribe in the first place. And you do more poorly. However, it also in this case they were talking about a patient who was critically ill and was most very likely going to die, and the children wanted either some sort of supplement that they wanted to be put in through the G tube, and the
Mm,
doctor ultimately did it. They
right,
ultimately did it, and the patient died anyway, of course.
right.
But she thought, well, I've healed a little bit the family, to help them think that they've done everything that they could. And she also, the author said something along the lines of, we doctors do this too sometimes. Sometimes we, hey, I don't really think this antibiotic's going to help, but I want to do everything I can to help save this patient. And so we sometimes do things too that probably we wouldn't normally do.
Mm,
So acknowledging that it's complicated. There's no right or wrong answer, but I think under any circumstances, transparency is the most important thing, which is to say,
yeah, yeah.
hey, I'm telling you that there's no
This
evidence that
doesn't,
this
yeah.
that this helps.
But if you
Um,
want to, it's
but
not
but
going
if
to, yeah.
under these circumstances, I will give it a try. But again, this is
There
most
is a
likely
little bit of
not going to
risk
do
there that
anything.
it actually, much like a rain dance, that's all about timing. If you give
Yep.
it and it works and they were on,
If you
well, I
give it
told
and
you, doc, right?
yeah, yeah, you're right. But that's a good problem. That's a problem I wouldn't mind having.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. All right, so we got a little bit of time left. It's a little bit healthcare related, but to be clear, it was an article. I feel like it was a little clickbaity. It was one of these, 5 things you should probably go clean now. And I wonder what's in that list was, of course, my thinking. So I did click on it. I did send it to you. I asked you if you would predict anything. I don't know. I think I probably would have gotten a couple of them. But I have to say, it certainly made me clean two out of those things that I was definitely worried about. That I thought, yeah, and I was a bit surprised. And I'll declare them. One was the water bottle because I use a water bottle almost every day, and I take it to the gym, and I drink my water versus the chlorinated blech that they have in the fountains. And the other was the dishwasher, which I just didn't think would be
Yeah,
so, because I mean that's run at a super hot heat. Well, at least based on when I open it when it's just finished, I can't touch the plate, so I can't believe that anything would survive. But I have to say, my surprise, having run the it wasn't an autoclave option, but it was close to it. And I ran that with whatever was in there and then decided to take, and there was a bunch of stuff. And I'm going, "Ugh."
yeah.
What about
With
you?
the well, I wouldn't have predicted the dishwasher. Toothbrush was on there. I would have predicted that.
Yeah, that whole the toilet flush thing is just I think people don't realize. But if you've ever seen the video of it, you flush the toilet with the lid up, which seems to be the norm. Dear God, the spread of blech.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I don't know how to spell blech, but
Don't worry, we'll see what the the, the transcript shows. Actually, I'm going to check that. That's going to be really interesting. What does the transcript say to blech?
yeah, I think that'll be fun. With the dishwasher, the main recommendation was cleaning looking for the word, the
The
filter. That's the
filter.
word I was looking for.
Yeah,
Cleaning the filter in the bottom.
yeah,
If you do that regularly, you're much better luck. So,
right.
which I do. I do that.
Do you?
I do that. I do.
No, I am shocked.
Yeah,
I
I
am
I have
shocked.
always, just because if I see food down there, I'm like, no, that needs to be scooped up immediately.
Well, but you see, hold on a second. If there was food down there, I'd scoop it up. But that's the thing. In mine, there's a big deep well, and you pull that up, and there's
I can
actually a.
see it.
Oh no, no, not in mine. So I mean, there wasn't a lot to be clear. Mostly, it gets pushed out. I think the surprising one to me was the couch armrest, which I guess
Never would have
makes
guessed
sense.
that.
No, definitely. And I didn't go rushing off to that because, quite honestly, I'm cleaning that most of the time because my damn cat sits on it and I have to get all the hair off.
Yeah.
So,
And how do
um,
you how do you clean that
oh, well, I
effectively?
have a special Hooja Madufa thing.
A hooja madufu.
Hooja Madufa.
A huge. Okay.
Hujamadufa.
Yeah. That's another one. We'll need to check the spelling.
Yeah, we definitely have to see what the transcript says for that. Hujamadufa, that essentially is you know how those sticky rolls used to be the thing that you got hair off things?
Yeah.
So much superior to this, and it's reusable, and it gets it unbelievable. I don't
but that's not getting rid of bacteria and viruses.
It rubs it enough. It rubs it in. It'll kill it somehow.
Okay, that's great. That's exactly how it works. It'll somehow rub off the bacteria.
Yeah. Well,
listen, I think the moral of the story is don't have a couch. Just stand.
Oh, absolutely. Gosh,
just stand.
Got that learning point in there.
Yeah.
We can definitely feature that in the 5 things you learned from.
This is not a medical recommendation.
Don't have couch. Actually, it's not a bad one because you could be standing a lot more, and then you wouldn't be.
Yeah,
sitting.
Yeah, it's
Your
good
Apple
for
Watch
you.
will be happier, right?
For sure.
All right. Well, unfortunately, as usual, we find ourselves at the end of yet another episode that we explored healthcare's mysteries and a few things beyond that, to be clear, before they became your emergencies, including the dishwasher getting too dirty. Until next time, I'm Dr. Nick.
And I'm Dr. Craig.